Hey sis, Madam CJ Walker has been heavy on my mind since I featured her as an inspirational woman in last week's Sunday Vibes mini essay. It's her name, Madame. This is a French expression for Mrs. French is my second language, and I wondered, as the first African American female self-made millionaire in the USA, why she would use the European French term to address herself, and also if she had any links to France or even the French-speaking Caribbean islands. After some research, she doesn't appear to be linked to the Caribbean or France, but she's still a very interesting woman who has a place in the encyclopedia of biographies of Black women I'm documenting for Notes on Black Women. What's interesting, from research, it appears that maybe Toni Morrison took some inspiration from her when she penned her novel in 1970, The Bluest Eye. So let's get to know her. CJ Walker's start in life. Born Sarah Breedlove on the 23rd of December, 1867, it appears that CJ Walker was a business name that she used. What struck me, as I mentioned, is as I learned this important Black woman's birth name, possibly this is where or who Toni Morrison may have taken the family name Breedlove from and used it in her iconic novel about Black women's experiences in her work, The Bluest Eye. For those who may not know or remember Toni's work, Pauline and Procola Breedlove were the central mother and daughter characters in Morrison's work. Madame C.J. Walker's, or Sarah Breedlove's, parents were born into slavery and were sharecroppers. As one of their 5 children, she was born free after the emancipation of American Blacks. Her coming-of-age story. Life was actually sad for C.J. Walker, orphaned at just 7 years old. This would have been circa 1874. Married off at the age of 14, circa 1881. Then giving birth at just 18 years old, circa 1885, to her daughter Aaliyah. Finally, she was widowed by the age of 20, circa 1887. Single motherhood in the 19th century. What really touched my heart researching CJ Walker was learning how she packed up her life and her baby girl, who was just 2 years old, then skipped state to St. Louis on her own with no support. Night school to gain an education, we can assume, plus working as what us Caribs call la madama, which is basically the equivalent of, well, the American equivalent of the mammy in white households, while caring for her 2-year-old daughter Aaliyah, is what came next for her in life. I leaned forward with a broad smile when I learned that CJ Walker was an active member of the National Association of Coloured Women, an association I love to read about, as well as the Black women affiliated with it. All kinds of names came to mind when I learned this, from Ida B. Wells, Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin. The list is endless of Black women from centuries ago I really admire who were heavily involved in this organisation. To know that there was a Black millionairess also was just the icing on the cake for me. So the making of the Black woman millionairess. Today, in the 21st century, we all know and love Bad Gal Riri, as she likes to refer to herself, otherwise known as Rihanna, the creator of the beauty brand we all know Fenty, who is a certified not millionairess, but an actual billionairess. And you should see the smile on my face as I read this and the smile on my face I had as I wrote this. In the 19th century, it was all about CJ Walker. The only disappointment was learning that her name, she took it from the man she later married, and there'll be more on him a bit later. It would have been wonderful to know that she didn't use anything to do with a man to create her wealth. I had hoped that this Black woman who referred to herself as a madame created her name on her own, but hey, it's okay, she still made it, so that's fine. CJ Walker created her millions in the hair care sector of business and focused on 2 things she probably knew very well and knew a lot about. Black women's tresses, our hair, and its care. She suffered from hair loss herself, so it's understandable why she may have focused here. The Walker system was made up of 1, scalp preparation, 2, lotions, and 3, iron combs. So this probably was like flat irons, or a way that women could straighten their hair without using chemicals. She differentiated herself and the Walker system from black hair products that were produced by white businesses at the time. This is how she won loyal clients, and her products turned her into a millionairess eventually. So this is where her story gets a little bit sad again. You know, it's black women and dating down. It's a 19th century example. I've written a lot about why I don't think black women or any woman really should date a man that is not as educated or as financially stable as she is, or dating down as they call it. I've tried it, I've tested it, and girl, let me tell you, never, ever, ever again. I'm a strong advocate against the messages that black men like to give us, the Tyler Perrys, the Kevin Samuels et al., that women are not deserving, well, black women, I should say, because that's who they're aiming the message at, are not deserving of certain types of men and should happily date the light bill guy, all while she's an established lawyer, for example. And the black woman's name that comes to mind is the beautiful Ebony K. Williams, when she said she would not date the bus driver, and rightly so. So back to CJ Walker. After moving to Denver, Colorado, with just $1.05 in her pocket and a small child, CJ Walker's business started to take off. Her second husband, the actual male CJ Walker, then moved to the same location, and no doubt into the poor woman's home too. Like, I have no proof or sources to cite this is what happened centuries ago, but we can assume this is likely. You know, after she started to earn good money, this is pretty likely. At first, it appears he was supportive of her business and of her doing well, just as long as she didn't do too well, which is the problem with dating men who are not as financially stable as you or educated as you. CJ Walker later then had to divorce the man whose name she used to create her wealth because, and this is a direct quote from a source that I found, as the business grew, the two grew apart and the two divorced, is what's cited as the reason she divorced him. If we decode this, we know that this means, one, her husband probably became jealous of her and her wealth. Two, he probably turned abusive to her, mistreated her, or tried to financially exploit her in some way. They always do. When you date down, it's happened to me, and think of Tina Turner, Mary J. Blige, or even Wendy Williams as other black women with modern day examples. And there was another lady, I think she was a script writer or something. She was a creative. And thirdly, you know, he may have even cheated on her due to his feelings of jealousy as a reason why she divorced him. And again, think of all the women that I've listed above as modern day examples. So the death of the millionairess, sadly at age just 51, CJ Walker died on the 25th of May 1919. This is actually my grandfather's actual birthday. She died from hypertension. She died leaving the legacy of being the first black woman millionairess in the USA and paving the way for others who have broke this ceiling as a black woman. Well done, CJ Walker. Very, very deserving of your place here in the biographies for black women on Notes on Black Women. And that's all I wanted to share with you today. So much love. I'll speak to you soon. The Black Woman Essayist.